The moment it happened, the world seemed to hold its breath, because nothing prepares a tired single father for the weight of his powerful boss, suddenly lowering herself onto his lap, on a quiet park bench, her breath shaky, her eyes full of fear, and her entire life crashing into his in one desperate second. Daniel Carter had come to the park for peace, for 5 stolen minutes between work stress and bedtime stories, not for the kind of moment that changes everything. Yet there she was, Eleanor Whitmore, the woman who signed his paychecks, the woman everyone feared and admired, trembling against him as if he were the only solid thing left in her world. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and quiet moments that change lives, please take a second to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. Daniel had learned to live carefully. Ever since his wife passed away 3 years earlier, life had narrowed into routines built around survival. Morning lunches packed with notes he never forgot to write, hair braided clumsily before school, late night laundry folded while fighting sleep. He worked as an operations manager at Whitmore Solutions, a job he couldn't afford to lose, not with a 6-year-old daughter named Lily depending on him for everything. Eleanor Whitmore was his boss, but she existed in a different universe, one of tailored suits, polished smiles, and decisions that moved entire departments with a nod. To Daniel, she was distant, intimidating, and unreachable. He never imagined he would know the warmth of her breath, or the way fear softened her sharp edges. The park that afternoon was ordinary in the way life often is before it shifts. Children laughed in the distance, leaves whispered overhead, and Lily ran toward the swings with unfiltered joy. Daniel sat on a bench, scrolling through his phone, thinking about overdue bills and tomorrow's meetings. He didn't notice Eleanor at first, not until she appeared out of nowhere, panic written across her face, eyes darting like a hunted animal. She saw him, hesitated, then moved fast, collapsing onto his lap as if instinct guided her more than reason. Her body stiffened, then shook, and Daniel froze, every muscle unsure whether to move or disappear. He understood without words that she was hiding. He followed her gaze and saw a man across the park, well-dressed, angry, searching. Eleanor's ex-husband. A name whispered in office rumors but never confirmed, a man known for control and cruelty hidden behind charm. Daniel's heart pounded, not from attraction or confusion, but from the sudden responsibility of being someone's shelter. He adjusted his posture, angled his body, and lowered his voice instinctively, offering calm, promising safety without making a scene. In that moment, he was no longer an employee, no longer beneath her authority. He was simply a man protecting another human being. The man eventually left, frustration etched into his retreating steps, and Eleanor remained there longer than necessary, as if moving would shatter whatever fragile calm she had found. When she finally stood, her composure returned piece by piece, but something fundamental had shifted. She thanked Daniel quietly, not as a boss to an employee, but as one survivor to another. He watched her walk away, heels clicking against the path, and wondered why his chest felt heavy, like he had just witnessed the truth behind a beautiful lie. Over the following weeks, life resumed its shape, but with subtle cracks letting light through. Eleanor became different at work, still professional but warmer, more human. She noticed Daniel in meetings, asked about Lily without obligation, listened when he spoke. Daniel, in turn, began to see the cost of leadership etched into her tired eyes. He learned, indirectly, that her marriage had been a carefully curated nightmare, that power didn't protect her from manipulation, and that escaping had cost her friends, confidence, and peace. Daniel's challenges remained relentless. Lily fell sick, forcing him to miss work and fear termination. The daycare raised its fees. Exhaustion settled into his bones. One evening, as he worked late to catch up, Eleanor stopped by his desk, not with criticism, but with concern. She approved flexible hours without paperwork, offered resources, and reminded him that strength didn't mean doing everything alone. It was the first time since his wife's death that someone in power had looked at him and seen more than productivity. Their connection deepened quietly, built on shared vulnerability rather than romance. They talked about loss, about rebuilding, about the strange loneliness that comes from being surrounded by people yet unseen. Eleanor admitted she had sat on that bench not just to hide, but because she felt small and terrified, and Daniel had given her dignity without asking questions. Daniel admitted he had forgotten what it felt like to be trusted with someone else's fear. Change came slowly, the way real healing does. Eleanor confronted her past legally and emotionally, learning to reclaim her voice. Daniel learned to accept help, to believe that his worth extended beyond sacrifice. Lily adored Eleanor without understanding why, sensing only kindness and safety. The park became a symbol, a place they returned to separately and sometimes together, not to hide, but to breathe. Near the end of this story, when life finally felt steadier, Daniel sat alone on that same bench, watching Lily laugh, and realized that one moment of kindness had rewritten his future. Eleanor joined him, not as a boss, not as someone running from fear, but as a woman choosing peace. The world didn't change loudly, it softened, and that was enough. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like the video, share it with someone who believes in quiet courage, and subscribe to support more stories that heal instead of hurt. Before the ending, take a moment to comment and share what part of this story stayed with you the most. Because sometimes love doesn't arrive as a grand declaration. Sometimes it arrives shaking, needing a place to sit, and stays long enough to remind us that even the most ordinary people can become someone's safest place.